Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Spartan Shadows podcast. I'm your host, Chris, and I'm joined with my co-hosts, Zach and Emmett. And today, to wrap up football season and dive into the world of recruiting, we have a special guest joining us, Kenny Jordan from On3 and Spartan Mag and a bunch of other great stuff. He's here to join us and grace us with some recruiting knowledge and all the information we need regarding MSU recruiting. So, Kenny, we appreciate you joining us, taking the time today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Not a problem. Zach, Emmett, hopefully you guys are doing well too. I appreciate you jumping on with me. We'll get right into it. I know we got some questions about the high school class and with signing day wrapping up, and then, of course, portal season in full swing. So, Emmett, why don't you kick us off here?
Oh, man, no pressure at all for me. So, obviously, looking at just like high school and that class, you saw MSU bring in multiple, I believe, 4 defensive backs. Are there any of them that you particularly believe would be like contenders for immediate playing time, kind of like we saw with Jalen Thompson, Andrew Brinson, and Justin Denson in the last season?
Yeah, I think Aiden West obviously was a huge one there on signing day to stick with his commitment. And then trying to think back, who are the other George Mullins,
Evan Young.
Yep.
Oh, did we only have
LaRue might have been the fourth one that you're thinking of.
Yeah, I think LaRue was the fourth.
Okay. Yeah, I like that Mullins. Yeah, George Mullins too. He's a good player. I don't know a whole lot about the Evan Young. He was kind of low key, and then he kind of just popped up right there at the end. But yeah, I think Aiden West definitely has potential to play right away. I think Smith even said it at his press conference on signing day as well, that he's one of those guys that he could see with immediate playing time.
Yeah. Just looking at also like the running back situation, for example, do you think Corizio comes in there and immediately competes with Frazier, Tolis, potentially starts? Obviously, pending any portal action.
Yeah, I do. I think Corizio or even the other kid there from Chicago area. Yeah. I think that playing time, there's going to be a lot of playing time available for running backs, and I'm pretty sure that was a big, selling point for Corizio, and even for Gist probably too, that you can go in there and compete right away as freshmen even. But I do think that Coach KB, I think that he's a good coach. I don't think the running backs were as bad. The offensive line was struggled quite a bit this past year too.
For sure. But outside of Antonio Johnson of Orchard Lake St. Mary's, have you heard anything on any more 2025 targets for the Spartans outside of, I know, Darren Jones Jr. from OLSM just got, I believe, a preferred walk-on offer?
Yeah. No, not really. What was that?
Have you heard like anyone outside of Antonio Johnson for
sorry, I thought you were saying something else. My bad.
Oh, no worries.
No, that kid from the west side of the state. I'm so bad with names if they're not right in front of my face, but that signed might have been a day or two after the original signing day. He was one I didn't expect him to do that then. I kind of expected him to wait till February as well, but he ended up signing that day. I think he goes to Ottawa Hills High School or something like that.
Rashawn Rogers, I believe.
Yeah. And then then the kid from Groves that just committed too. But besides Antonio Johnson potentially, and then Bryson Williams that he didn't sign either. Yep. I know he's committed still, but yeah, I would expect those two to probably sign in February. Bryson and Antonio.
Nothing really for 2025, and it's more focused on portal action, you would say.
Yeah. I mean, there might be somebody that pops up, but as of right now, there's nobody that I know
of. Speaking of Bryson Williams, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
I was just going to say, speaking of Bryson Williams, obviously if he does sign with Michigan State, where do you expect him to kind of play at Michigan State? Where do you think the coaching staff is going to want him? Because as an athlete, he can play at a lot of different positions.
Right. I think he'll be a wide receiver. I mean, at this point, you kind of, with the way Michigan State looks right now, you kind of got to put him out at wide receiver. But yeah, he can play running back too. Darren Jones, I guess, would be another guy to look at, and I think he's a good I think he would be a good pickup. Those two were kind of what are the Sonic and Knuckles, like Montgomery and Gibbs for the Lions on their state championship. But yeah, I think Bryson, he did catch quite a few passes this year. I don't know like the exact numbers or anything like that, but he moved out quite a bit and did some different things for them, and he also played a little bit of defensive back at times too.
Yeah,
I actually think Clarizio could potentially be a defensive back if things don't work out at running back, but
kind of like Davion Prim did a couple years back when he moved to defensive back.
Yeah, I think so. I think he would. Yeah, I think Clarizio could play back there. I know he played, a little bit here and there for East Lansing as well at DB, but
that'd be interesting.
Yeah, he's a good athlete.
So I know for you guys at On3, Derek Simmons was the only 4-star in the class. Would he be, I guess, you think maybe like the most talented prospect coming out? I know I think Clarizio's up there and Charles White too, of course, but would he be kind of like your I guess jewel of the class or the best prospect, however you want to?
Yeah, I think Simmons probably has the most potential, I would say. I don't know about like right now, but Simmons is he's really, really good, and he's just a smart kid, I feel like too, but he has all the tools. It's just, Frankenmuth isn't a huge school, so a lot of people kind of think a little bit less of him just because of their competition, but he dominated it in my opinion. I think that he definitely has the most potential to be like, say an NFL, be an NFL draft pick out of this class, I would say.
Is he someone that can come in and play right away for Michigan State? Because obviously the defensive line, with a lot of graduations like Maverick Henson, you also have some defensive ends like Bogle that would be gone. They kind of need people at the defensive line. Is he someone that you can see playing a little bit next year? Or do you think that's going to be maybe more a little bit of a transfer thing?
Yeah, I could see him, cracking like you said, a lot of this depends on the transfer portal and, what they do there, but I could see him getting in there. I know, they got Van Sumeren and Ben Roberts and all those guys still there, but yeah, I could definitely see him getting in there and doing, holding his own out there.
So a question for you relating back to both like this year and last year. Obviously with the changing of the coaching staff, was there a different set of evaluations that you would have to go through, especially covering for Michigan State, when the entire recruiting board seems to shift at once from what Harlan Barnett and Mel Tucker had to Jonathan Smith? What was that period like for you in the offseason?
It was definitely different. Like, I remember some of those guys that they had visiting and stuff last summer for their official visits, guys like Collier and Charles White and them. And, I know Michigan State, they usually would recruit, a decent amount of 3-stars, but I mean, some of those guys weren't even like ranked or anything up until Michigan State really showed interest. So that was a little different. Tucker was, he went after a lot of out-of-state guys that were, highly ranked, top 500 prospects. And yeah, the last class too, the 2024 class, like even that class was just like a complete flip from the time all the Tucker stuff happened, and then when Smith got hired, it was just like, but yeah, so it's been different, but I think that he's really trying to build just that, those relationships here in the state, and even Ohio and Illinois and Wisconsin, all those states. And so he'll take a guy that's, kind of a project, so to say, right now, but I think that it'll change here in the coming years.
Would you say part of that's also because of the lack of a Midwest recruiting experience outside of, I would say, Courtney Hawkins? Do you think part of that is he doesn't have that same talent that Mel Tucker had at the end to really, which is why you see like the fan base getting upset over, well, we had top 25 classes and now we're in the 50s, for example?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't, even though I work for a recruiting service, I guess, but I don't really pay that much attention to those rankings and stuff because I do think that they're flawed. I mean, you kind of got to take them with a grain of salt type of thing. But yeah, I think that, can you say that question one more time, actually?
Do you think mostly the lack of Midwest recruiting, along with being behind on that visit schedule, where you see most of these kids getting the top 5 schools as a junior. Do you think that's part of why you're seeing this dip from, say, a top 25 class under Tucker in 2023 to now?
Yeah, definitely. That, those 2025 kids, when Smith got hired, a lot of them already had, like their top 5, top 10 lists out, and it's hard to build that relationship in, that quick amount of time. And I think that's part of the reason too. I've heard him say a couple times at different press conferences and stuff like that, just about kids that want to go to Michigan State. Like, I don't think he's actually, I know that he's not out there, quote unquote, like begging. Like, obviously, he's still recruiting, but he's not gonna. He wants guys that want to be here, basically.
We saw
at
that
least
with
for this class.
He'll fight for the kid, but he's not going to, throw the bag of money repeatedly to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah, I still think throwing bags of money at high schoolers is dumb. I'd rather do it in the portal, but
just look at Texas A&M. Look at their highly quote unquote rated class a few years ago. Aren't they basically all transferred out? Or I don't know exactly. I don't really pay attention to Texas A&M, but
for what he did today, and I think the best player was like a 3-star or something.
Yeah, I think that most of that class is gone. Yeah, most of those 5-stars all transferred out to different schools,
other places. Yeah, got their money and ran.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the portal, that I feel like is a good segue to get us into portal action, I guess, for what you want to call it. I know MSU, it seems, and Emmett will have the exact numbers, I'm sure, but it seems like we're offering a lot of kids in the portal. I know we're going to have a lot of roster spots to try to turn over and replace some talent at. So far, a couple weeks into portal season, what stood out to you so far, like as their a specific position group you see us targeting more often, or what needs to be targeted? For me, it's wide receiver, but yeah, I don't know if you'll agree or what. So where are we at with that?
Yeah, wide receiver, offensive lineman, definitely the top 2. And those are like positions where I feel like Nick Marsh is there obviously, but you have to have higher end prospects. A lot of times, they'll grab like a defensive back. Like, I feel like that's a position where you can. Charles Brantley left, so I guess you might want to target a little bit higher. But a lot of times, you're going for depth pieces and things like that. Yeah, I think wide receiver and offensive line are definitely the top 2, and maybe even defensive line.
Okay.
Yeah, I was about to say, I feel like there's been a lot of defensive back offers, especially in recent days. I know that linebacker seems to have been getting a few more offers recently as well, along with what looks like a 1-year stopgap option at running back, such as TJ Harden of UCLA, for example, Eli Sanders of New Mexico, and Jamari Taylor of NC Central.
Yeah, so with sorry to interrupt there, but I guess with Chuck transferring out specifically, and I know some of the issues we had with the injuries in the secondary, do you think they might add a couple more transfer pieces for like a starting role, or do you think that the staff maybe anticipates more of like, because I know it's hard with the guys we had injured go out early, the starters that we had that missed the season. Do you think they'll take over a little bit more? Or they're looking to add starters in the portal. What do you think they're?
I think the guys that they're going to be adding defensive back wise, I feel like they'll probably add some guys that will be right there to compete with with some of those guys, Chance Rucker, Dylan Tatum. I do know. I guess I shouldn't say I know. I've heard that Malik Spencer, which I was a little surprised because I thought he might be a guy that might test the waters in the portal, but I've heard that Blue Adams is kind of shaping him to be like the guy they're kind of centering their whole defensive backfield around for next year, which was nice to hear. I think that he can be good. I know he made a few mistakes this past year and then was hurt there. Yeah, big that he's staying. Charles, Chance Rucker coming back too will be a big help. Dylan Tatum, but yeah, they're offering quite a few corners. I feel like versus like more of like a safety or nickel or something like that. So they must be looking to at least raise the floor in that room.
Yeah, and speaking of, you go first.
I was just going to say one area that I really focused on this past year. For the most part, kind of one area is obviously a scrimmage because for a lot of teams, you win or lose the game at the line of scrimmage, offensive line, defensive line as well. Can you find starters on both sides of the balls in the transfer portal? Just because I feel like offensive line is just so difficult to find great starters at in the portal, and you just don't see a lot of offensive linemen go into the portal that are elite offensive linemen. They're more depth pieces or maybe not one of the stronger offensive linemen on the team.
Right. But yeah, a guy like Luke Newman coming up from the FCS, I feel like those are actually the guys that they should really be targeting as guys like that are, at lower levels or whatever. Yeah, I mean, obviously the best offensive linemen that you want are guys that you bring up through your roster, and I think that they have a lot of good ones down there. That freshman class from last year, AJ Dennis, and all those guys, the Luneski twins. But yeah, I think that you can find quality guys. It seems like there's more this year, at least just from surface level. It looks like there's more this year, but I also have a feeling that those offensive linemen that are those, starter all Big Ten type players that could potentially come here are probably asking for a lot of money.
Yeah.
So like a Josh
guys
Thompson, for example.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Thompson of Northwestern.
Oh, right, right. Yeah, him especially. He
was
all Big Ten second team or something, or second graded PFF or something like that. Yeah, he was good.
Yeah, I know he was talking about wanting to take a visit to MSU. Has he been on campus yet? I can't remember if that was happening this past week.
Yeah, he was there Monday or Tuesday this past week. So, but I haven't heard anything since then. So
I know he had a nice laundry list of SEC schools plus Michigan and I think Ohio State too. So he's got a few more. I'm sure he wants to hit before making a decision.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, 100%. I don't blame him either.
He's from my neck of the woods, so it would be good to. I live in Davison currently, but I know he went to Fenton, which is where I work. So it's nice seeing the local kids get some shine. But unfortunately, I can't. I hope he comes to MSU. I just that's an awful big.
Yeah, it's a long shot for sure, and I think that he might. I think he might want to be at a program that has had a little bit more success than Michigan State has, but I don't. That's just something I've heard. I don't know that for sure, but it would make sense.
Sure, absolutely.
So recently we've seen a decent amount of the receivers MSU has either targeted or shown interest in. We've seen them either declare elsewhere or seem to pull out of visits or not necessarily have anything outside of the offer from Michigan State. Do you have any players who you might want to watch? You might think the Spartans would want to watch?
Just out of the transfer portal?
Yeah.
That kid from Kent State,
McRae?
Yeah, I like him a lot. And then obviously the Virgil and the other kid
Tracy
from
both went elsewhere. Yeah, well, Tracy pulled out of his visit, I believe, and
he did.
I think Coleman still has a visit. Malachi Coleman, Nebraska.
Oh, I didn't know he was visiting.
I don't know if he's visiting. I know there was interest
I know that they had talked a little bit. I hadn't heard that he visited. I think he could be a good one too. He's a big boy. I think he's like 6'4".
6'5", yeah.
6'5", yeah. He would definitely be nice. I was a little disappointed about Virgil. I definitely thought that they had a shot with him, but what do you do?
Yeah.
Do you know of any other targets outside of McRae, for example, who?
No, I think that it might start heating up here again, but like I said, I haven't seen anything recently on any other guys.
I saw a ton of corner. I saw we had 2 corner offers today with Joyner and Fisher of Arkansas State and Sam Houston. So I know it's starting to heat back up again for that. Speaking of the DB room, how do you think the staff handles with having Majid back, Nakai Martinez, Dylan Tatum, and Malik Spencer, all 4, and Justin Denson, all 5 who could potentially be starters at safety or nickel? Do you think that... So we kind of see the staff approaching with more corner intentions. Do you think any of them bump out to corner this year? Maybe Tatum, for example?
Yeah, I mean, I think they could. I know Denson wants to play. I think he wants to play corner too. So I don't know if they would move him out. Spencer's probably locked in there at safety, but yeah, I could definitely see Tatum or even what's it? I just said his name.
Benson?
That's all.
Justin
Denson. Yeah,
Benson?
I could see either of those guys probably moving out if they don't land some of these other guys, because you can never have enough DBs. I feel like those guys get hurt like
You won that last
a
year.
fly.
Yeah.
Had to
That's
burn
why
up
I think the high school signings of like Aiden West, Terrence Edwards, Mullins.
Right.
Oh, Edwards was the guy that I blanked on earlier. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry,
Oh
Deuce
yeah,
Edwards.
yeah,
My
Yeah,
bad.
Terrence
yeah. Felton
Edwards. Yeah.
Davis's cousin. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's on me.
That I was excited for that flip. So I
Yeah,
know we've talked
that was a
about that
big
in
one
previous.
too.
But yeah, I think they'll all come in handy. Speaking of like more recent portal news, I think it was two Oregon State linebackers the last couple of days. Have you heard anything about them that potentially maybe looking to come out here?
Yeah, I think that I just saw the one that I think it happened like right before I got on here. Actually,
Yes.
Yeah,
he's got his last name's Jordan. I know that.
yeah,
Yeah.
Um,
Jordan the fourth, I just tweeted on.
yeah, that kid that entered the other day too. I think
Chisholm.
the
Chisholm, yeah.
freshman. He was some freshman All-American, I think, but
Yeah,
I think that he's trying to set something up right now with Michigan State, but
that'd be cool.
there's nothing official or anything like that.
That'd be nice. I know anybody that leaves Oregon State, you automatically think connections there. Let's get them.
Right.
We're talking about portal a little bit. I kind of want to go back to a little bit of like the recruiting class, the one that's coming in. Who are some guys that you can think that are going to be, I don't want to say instant impact, but guys that you're going to be seeing on the field next year for Michigan State that if they get the opportunity, they could like step up and maybe be a starter when maybe people are like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think Clarizio could be Braylon Collier, Aiden West probably. I think that the linebacker room at Michigan State is deep enough, but I do think that both those guys are pretty good, White and Malone, but I don't necessarily see them playing next year. Trying to think. Yeah, both the offensive linemen too. I would hope. I mean, I know they're thin there, but I would hope that neither of those guys are playing by next year either.
Yeah, I mean,
But yeah,
Nichols is 6'5", 270, so he could bump inside, I guess, but
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, well, with Justin Bell, I know he has the size, but I feel like I mean, 6'8". I forget how much he weighs, but I know he's a bigger guy. But he was always viewed as more of like a raw to me, anyways. I don't
288.
know if he has a chance
yeah,
to.
he's definitely raw.
Cool. So, well, that's all I had for Portal. I did want to ask a couple just 2026 looking into the future questions while we have you, just real quick. Anybody stand out to you in the 2026 class? I know for me, I've been talking about him a lot. The local kid, Ben Nichols from Davison, the offensive lineman. I don't think he's got a real great shot of MSU landing him, but that would be my probably pipe dream. But I don't know if anybody in the 2026 class has been standing out to you, or who would you like to maybe see commit eventually?
The Alston kid, the running back, he just announced too that his commitment date. I think that MSU has a decent shot with him. Shane Alston or something like that. He's from Ohio, running back.
Yep, I just saw
I
we
think
were
they have an
happening.
outside shot. That'd be a huge pickup to start out the class potentially. And trying to think other 2026 guys. Jack Janda is another one from Catholic Central. He loves Michigan State. But he was hurt last year for most of the year. I think he came back in like the playoffs for them. So yeah, he kind of took a break from recruiting when he got hurt and everything too. So he didn't do a whole lot, but that will obviously start picking up here as spring comes for him. I could see him committing, within the next few months. Trying to think other guys.
Didn't MSU just bring in the quarterback Cade Kaufman at the same time as
Right.
Chase Carter of Western Carolina, I believe, and Eli Sanders of New
Yeah,
Mexico?
yeah, he was there. Cade was there last Monday.
Mm-hmm.
With Lindgren and the assistant quarterback guy. But yeah, he's another guy too that I think they'll get eventually. But I think a lot of these guys are kind of waiting until like after Christmas or right around the new year to do a lot of more recruiting stuff like that. So you might not see one, but I think those are probably the top 3, I would say.
Are you hitting the panic button with 0 recruits so far heading into 2026? Like, as someone who's seen this industry and seen the turnover for Michigan State before, are you hitting that panic button or?
No, not yet. I like, those guys I just mentioned are all good players, and they got, that stuff is, a lot of the stuff is so fluid too that, it's like some of these guys that will eventually commit in the class, like I probably don't even know who they are right now, like it's just so fluid that it's hard to tell like right now what it'll be like that far, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And obviously, like no one has like a crystal ball of what a picture of a class is going to look like, and this might be like not a great question by any means, but obviously, I think there's some people not too happy about kind of the 2025 class. I think like the Jace Clarizio getting him back to Michigan State was held off people being a little frustrated about how things going. Do you expect 2026 to be better for Michigan State? Like honestly, it's more of like like a better like class. Like, do you think more people would be overall happier at least?
I mean, but some of those people just get mad about anything, so I don't think it really. I don't really think that, some of that stuff you can't really change. I think that they've targeted some bigger guys. Like even there's that offensive Max Riley from Ohio too. He's like, I think he might be he might be close to a 5-star, honestly. He might be a 5-star.
They targeted I know 41st overall running back to 41st overall player in the class, I believe, via 24/7. That running back out of Texas.
What's his name?
I know they just offered him. One sec, looking up the 2026 class.
But yeah, like Max Riley, I remember too. Like I remember Michigan State offering him, and I didn't really. He was ranked so high, I was just like, no shot, But after talking to him, like he actually had a genuine, interest in Michigan State, and he's been up to campus a few times. So I think that they're knocking on the right doors. It's just about, they just got to close that gap, I feel like, a little bit with probably on-field success even, and then NIL stuff too.
Jonathan Hatton Jr. was their player offered by MSU, if I'm not mistaken.
And just to fill out, Max Riley is I got 24/7 pulled up his profile, but
I don't care.
He's the number 8 tackle in the composite over there, 95 overall composite score. So yeah, he's great on that fringe there.
Yeah. I mean, he's not a guy like that I would expect. Like, I'm not sitting here saying Michigan State needs to get this guy, but just being in that top, probably top 5 or so list of his is good at the, for right now.
Yep. M24/7 also has MSU in the top 5 currently, whatever you want to call it. Those 5 trending schools or whatever.
For Max Riley.
Yeah. Yep. Alabama, Clemson, Florida State, Missouri, and MSU. So
nice.
One last 2026 prospect I want to talk about, Greg Patrick from Portage, the offensive line legacy. I know he's been up to campus a few times, as obviously his dad having MSU connections and whatnot. Right. How anything you've heard about him? Are we still in pursuit of him? I would think.
Oh yeah. He's probably I don't know how he flew right over my head earlier, but yeah, he's got to be the top guy like for that class, just in terms of, like you said, like being a legacy kid and having some of those other kids that have went elsewhere recently, not naming names or anything, but yeah, he definitely is interested in Michigan State, and he seems like he's not as flashy as some of the other guys from the past. I know he cares a lot about academics too, which is a good thing, obviously. And I know Jonathan Smith emphasizes it as well. So I think that bodes well for them. Some of those other places too, you get a general studies degree, and I don't know what it really does, but
yeah.
So looking at the portal, just from someone who's observed this team, what would you say a successful portal haul from Michigan State would look like? Not necessarily names, but like how many players at said position, for example. What would be your ideal portal scenario for Michigan State football?
Yeah, definitely. You definitely have to get offensively, you probably need at least. I think that they want 4 offensive linemen, 3 or 4 at least, and then you got to get probably got to get at least 1 or 2 defensive backs, probably 2 to 4 wide receivers even.
You think they go after a running back? I know they've
Yeah,
offered
I
all
think
three.
I think that they'll. I think you probably, one running back they don't need any more than one, I don't think. But yeah, that would definitely be a bit. I don't think it's like the end of the world if they don't, but that would definitely be a
okay
nice
sticking
addition.
to your guns with Tolis, Frazier, and Clorizio as your top 3 running backs for next year?
I mean, if worse came to worse,
yeah,
it would definitely be nice to get one though. But I think they will. I think they'll close on at least one of them. But
I just wanted to clarify because I know that was I was looking at them and I'm like, oh, okay, so we have about 4 combined carries heading back into the backfield next year, which was something that yeah, because I think it's 14 combined carries between the two of them for like 41 yards currently.
Yeah,
and a catch for 12 yards by Frazier.
Yeah,
that's one of those where the talent's good, but it's just no experience.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, it's kind of one that, fans, they'll just over that. But yeah, those guys definitely have talent. The one was it Tullis, I think, had a really good spring game, and they both looked decent when they did. I mean, 12 carries, 41 yards. I mean, that's not horrible for two true freshmen.
Yeah, this question's been asked actually in my Twitter comments before. Do you think they go after a quarterback?
A quarterback?
Yeah, someone to back up Childs, for example.
Oh.
Not necessarily like, the Quinn Ewers fake news that went around, but shout out Brody Sheets for that one.
Yeah.
No, but do you think they go after, say, another Tommy Schuster, for example, or are they okay with 4 scholarship quarterback and Cardi?
Yeah, I don't think so. No. I think that they'll, probably Alessio will probably be second string. It looks like, and Ryland, Jesse probably third. And yeah, Hannon hopefully is redshirting. But I mean, none of the nothing surprises me anymore. So I wouldn't be terribly surprised if they found somebody to be a backup from some random.
One more position related. Do you think they go kicker, or are they good with Connington and Ahmet Basic? Both.
I think that they'll stick with those guys.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that I think Connington or whatever, he was an Oregon State guy before, so I'm sure they really like him, and it'll just be
gray shirted. Like, what I think he was like promised a scholarship after Kim graduated.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was not on. He was technically a preferred walk-on or whatever, but now that Kim's gone, he'll have that scholarship for the kicking room, I'm sure.
Do you have any more information on the scholarship 105 player limit? Is that still ongoing with NCAA, or what is?
I think so. I think Smith might have addressed that in his last press conference, actually, but I can't remember exactly how he said they were operating. If it was like 85 scholarships still, and then 20 walk-ons, or how they were doing that.
And then one last question. Sorry, guys, I'm kind of just with all these questions. Do you know about any early enrollees from this 2025 class?
Yeah, I think most of them are early enrolling. I have a list somewhere. The only guy, it's probably easier to say the guys that aren't, because I think more of them are than aren't.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think Orchard Lake is not because of how
they can't.
They're set up. Yeah.
But then trying to think who the other guy. Drew Nichols is not early enrolling.
Okay.
But I know Damari Malone and Justin Bell both are. Leo Hannon is. Braylon Collier.
Clorizio, I think he is.
Clorizio is, yeah.
Anything on Gist, Zion Gist, the running back?
I do not know if he is or not. I think that he is, though. I'm pretty sure that he is, but I don't know. I can't say that 100%, but I think that I had heard that he is as well. And yeah, I think I think that there's one other guy. I think it's Nichols, the 3 Orchard Lake guys. The one kid, Simmons is early enrolling. So it's Cal Thrush. I know those two are going to be roommates too.
Oh, cool.
That kid that they signed from Hawaii that was on that mission trip, he won't be. Yeah, he won't be there until like March, I think, or something like that. So he's obviously not early enrolling either.
I heard that was kind of kept under wraps. for the most part.
Yeah.
That kind of signing.
I had heard about it not maybe 2 weeks before that. I had heard something about that kid, and I didn't really think much of it. And then signing day, it was he's there.
Yeah, right early in the morning. I hadn't even clocked into work yet, and it's we've got our guy. It's okay.
Yeah.
Then the last one that I really had, just to say for me, just over the course. I guess I was going to ask this earlier when we started. How long have you been covering everything for MSU for on3 and
full time the last 3 years, 2021.
Okay.
I guess this would be 4th year. But yeah, I mean, I started doing some stuff with them before. So 2018, 19, I was kind of doing helping out, but I was still going to schools.
Okay.
2021 though full time, but.
Gotcha. So my question to go with that, who's the favorite prospect that you've covered in your time working all this?
Nick Marsh.
That's
Nick Marsh.
Makes sense.
There's a few others too. Dylan Tatum. I like Dylan Tatum a lot.
Yeah.
Obviously Michigan guys are a lot easier to access for me. But yeah, even I like Braylon Collier a lot in this next class. He's a good kid.
Yeah, I've got to interact with him a little bit. He seems really nice, and his dad seems really cool.
Good family too. Yeah, his dad. Yeah, and that's part of the thing with Marsh too. Is just the way his mom is and everything. It's just it always is a little different when you get to have that relationship with the parents as well.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. That's been Nick Marsh and Jordan Hall with their moms are both the coolest people. I haven't got to talk to them too much, but in the few interactions we've had online, they're the nicest and just the best.
Aiden Childs, his parents are awesome too. I met them once, and they're really nice people as well. They even though obviously I didn't even really know who Aiden Childs was up until last year, so I didn't follow him in his high school recruiting or anything like that. But
cool. Well, that's all I had. I appreciate you guys have any more questions for Kenny here. We appreciate you taking the time, man. It was probably a little longer than we planned.
Is Michigan State hockey winning right now?
I know they just got a commit today. Does that count for anything?
They did get a commit today.
I did see that.
I can give you an answer. Let's see what's faster.
I think it's 0-0 still.
Okay.
Jared Bear did tweet out, folks, Trey Augustine's at it again, so that's a good sign.
Also, if anyone's watching this and wants to know, Navy is going to win, and it's 31-13 against Army.
Sorry, Zach.
That's okay.
I'm an Air Force fan. I'm just kidding. My grandpa was in the Air Force. That's the only reason I said that. But I really don't.
It's 0-0, y'all. 14-48 in the first.
I did see Minnesota got Matthew Wood back, so that's not a great sign because, just put another NHL draft pick in that lineup, but that's great.
Yeah.
Hey, we
thank you, Kenny.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, you're welcome to join whenever you feel like talking. We appreciate it. We always like to talk recruiting. We haven't got to do it a whole lot, so
it's been
But yeah, thanks, and we appreciate it. We let everybody know where they can follow you or view any of your work or where to check you out at. I got it pulled up. Kenny_Jordan5. I'll make sure to put it in the description links and stuff for you. But we appreciate you joining. Emmett, Zach, thanks for coming on with me again and helping me with this. We appreciate it, and we'll talk soon. Go Green, everyone. Have a good night.